Welcome back guys. I only have 7 months left, please subscribe. It will make these hard days better till I reach my goal. So in today's episode we are going to talk about movie A Quiet Place. Spoiler alert. Let's start. The movie starts 89 days after an extraterrestrial invasion destroys the world and wipes out the majority of humanity. Because the monsters are blind but have acute hearing, they hunt anywhere they hear sound. The Abbott family, which includes parents Lee, John Krasinski, and Evelyn, Emily Blunt, as well as children Regan, Millicent Simmons, Marcus, Noah Jupe, and Bo, Cade Woodward, travels to an abandoned town far from home in search of supplies. They converse solely using sign language and make as little noise as possible. Marcus is sick, and Evelyn has to obtain medicine for him. Bo discovers a toy rocket he wants to play with, but Lee takes the batteries out and warns him that it would be too loud. Bo receives the rocket from Regan and steals the batteries when no one is looking. The family returns home by walking along a dirt path that muffles their footsteps. Bo inserts the batteries in the toy and turns it on, producing loud noises as they approach the bridge. As he hears one of the creatures running through the woods, Lee sprints towards Bo. A spider-like monster rushes out and takes Bo before Lee can reach him. The family has thrived for almost a year by being as quiet as possible. Evelyn is expecting her 4th child. Lee has created a hearing device for Regan, who is deaf, using parts he found in radio equipment. Unfortunately, this, like prior attempts to create a gadget, does not enable Regan to hear. The kids are playing Monopoly when Marcus unintentionally knocks over a lantern, shattering it and starting a minor fire, which Lee swiftly extinguishes. They wait with bated breath to hear if the monsters are approaching, but they never appear. Later, Lee and Evelyn dance while listening to a song on a device. Despite his fear of being out there, Lee takes Marcus fishing near the falls. Lee tells Regan to stay and support her mother instead of going. There are obvious differences between Lee and Regan. When Lee and Marcus get at the falls, Lee assures Marcus that it is safe to speak there because the river's sound is louder than their own. For the first time in a long time, they are able to communicate with one another. Marcus informs Lee that Regan holds herself responsible for what happened to Bo, and he inquires about his father's feelings on the subject. Lee disputes this. Marcus inquires as to whether he loves Regan, and advises Lee to tell her that he does. Regan walks from the house to the bridge, where the family has put a monument for Bo. She cuts the toy rocket's cables to silence it, but she leaves the lights on. As Lee and Marcus begin their return journey, they come across a guy standing over the disfigured body of a woman who may or may not have been his wife. Despite Lee's efforts to persuade the man not to act, the man yells, attracting the monster. As the man is killed, Lee and Marcus flee. Evelyn's water breaks on the family's farm. She goes to the basement to prepare because it is soundproof, but she steps on a nail on the stairway, yelping in agony and dropping a shattered family photograph. One of the monsters is drawn to the house by the noise. Evelyn switches on the red lights so Lee can see them, alerting him to the beast's presence. The monster chases Evelyn into the home, but Lee dispatches Marcus to put off some fireworks to scare the monster away. Evelyn can now scream from the contraction's anguish. Lee returns home to see that Evelyn has given birth to a boy. He drags the two of them down to the basement, where he lays the baby in a box with an oxygen mask on him so the monster won't hear him cry. Lee and Evelyn are able to communicate since she feels responsible for Bo's death and claims she could have carried him the entire way. Lee must vow to protect the children, she says. Regan, who is relaxing near the memorial, notices the fireworks and rushes back home. As one of the monsters approaches, Marcus runs into a crop field. When he collides with a tractor, he is knocked out, but Regan finds him. The two climb to the top of a grain silo to summon Lee, but the wind puts out their fire. Marcus is nearly crushed by a metal door after falling through the roof of the silo. Regan follows him in, and the two are nearly suffocated by the grain. The monster then enters, but the children hide beneath the door. Regan's hearing aid suddenly emits a powerful high-pitched frequency, weakening the monster and causing it to flee. The basement of the house begins to flood. One of the monsters hears the running water and approaches. Evelyn walks through the water carefully, trying to reach the baby. Outside noises entice the creature to leave. Regan and Marcus emerge from the silo and rejoin Lee. The monster, on the other hand, is nearby. The kids take refuge in a vehicle while Lee fights the monster. Lee is gravely injured when it whips its claw in. Marcus screams for his father, and the monster hears him. Lee notices the kids and tells them that he loves them both and always has. The monster then murders him when he shouts to attract it. Through the security cameras, Evelyn sees this. The kids return home and leap into Evelyn's arms, all of them grieving for Lee's death. For protection, they dash to the basement. Marcus is kept in the corner by Evelyn to safeguard the infant. Lee's notes and experimental equipment against the aliens are seen by Regan. Evelyn armed herself with a shotgun as one of the creatures makes its way into the basement. Regan discovers that her hearing aid is powerful enough to weaken the monster, so she uses it to generate a high-frequency signal that forces the monster's head to open and writhe in anguish. It rises, but Evelyn shoots it in the head. As Evelyn can see on the cameras, this signals another pair of monsters, who rush for the house. Regan turns up the microphone level, and Evelyn cocks the shotgun with a smirk now that they know how to fight back. So that was the end of today's episode. Please make sure that you like, follow, and subscribe to our channel. Check out the other videos if you watched this video all the way through. Cheers.